Stella Adeyemi stared at her phone, scrolling through Instagram with a deep frown on her face. Her former classmate Chinwe had just posted pictures of her new car, a shiny black Toyota. Another friend, Blessing, had announced her engagement with a big diamond ring sparkling on her finger. Someone else was traveling to Dubai. Another person had just started a fashion business. "Nothing ever happens to me," Stella mumbled as she threw her phone on the bed. She looked around her small but neat room in the apartment she rented in Lagos and was irritated. At 27 years old, Stella worked as an accountant at Sunshine Enterprises. She was good at her job. Her boss often praised her skills with numbers and her ability to spot mistakes that others missed, but that wasn't enough. She wanted more. She wanted to be special. She wanted big things to happen to her like it did for every other person. She wanted what others had, and sometimes was willing to do more to get what they had. This hunger to be like others wasn't new. It started way back when Stella first entered the University of Lagos. She remembered those early days clearly, how she would walk through the campus feeling like nobody could see her. Sometimes she even pinched herself to check if she was actually invisible. One morning, during her first month at university, Stella stood in front of the mirror in her hostel room examining her face. "But I'm not ugly. Why am I so insignificant to everyone?" she asked her reflection, touching her smooth dark skin and running her fingers through her natural hair. Her roommate, Florence, was sitting on her bed reading a textbook. "Who told you that you are insignificant?" Florence asked. "Nobody needs to tell me. I can see how the popular girls get all the attention," Stella replied. Florence finally looked up from her book. "And you think it's because of how you look?" "Of course. Have you seen how they dress? How their hair is always perfect, how they wear makeup, even to morning classes." That was when Stella decided to change her strategy. She began spending almost all her pocket money on clothes, makeup, and hair extensions. Money that her parents had sent for books and food now went to lipstick and trendy outfits. She would skip meals just to save enough for a new bag that looked like the one the most popular girl in her department carried. The big opportunity came with the university's end-of-year prom. This was when everyone would dress up and show off. Stella knew she had to make a big impression. A week before the prom, Florence walked into her room to find Stella applying bright red lipstick, even though they had no lectures that day. "Stella, we don't have lectures today. Where are you going to?" Florence asked, looking confused. Stella smiled proudly at her reflection before answering. "Well, I'm going to shop for my prom dress at She's Chic Boutique." Florence's eyes grew wide with surprise. "She's chic?" "Ha, Stella. She's chic of all places. You want her bank? Besides, what about the one your mom sent you last week? That was very beautiful." "Which one?" I beg. "You're looking down on me," Stella said. "How do you expect me to wear that dress?" "Ha, I beg, don't say that out loud or before somebody hears. No be human being they shop for She's Chic." "Why can't I?" she said. Florence said nothing more and went back to her phone. But Stella could feel her roommate's concern. Yet she ignored it and headed out, her heart set on finding the perfect dress. When Stella arrived at She's Chic Boutique, her confidence wavered a little. The store was in a fancy part of Lagos, with shiny glass doors and uniformed security guards. Inside, elegant women browsed through clothes that cost more than Stella's entire semester allowance. A sales lady with a sweet smile approached her. "Good afternoon, ma. How may we help you today?" I'm looking for a prom dress," Stella said, trying to sound like shopping here was normal for her. The sales lady showed her several beautiful gowns, but Stella's eyes fell on a stunning red dress with tiny crystals that sparkled under the store lights. When she tried it on, she knew this was the one. She looked like a movie star. "How much is this?" she asked, trying to sound casual. When the sales lady mentioned the price, Stella's heart sank. It was way more than she could afford, even with all her savings put together. She sat on a chair, looking sad as the sales lady took the dress away. Then Stella immediately remembered something. She was yet to pay her school fees for the semester. Her parents had sent the money to her account last week. If she used that money, she could afford the dress. "I'll take it!" she screamed after the sales lady, who turned around with a surprised smile. That evening at the prom, everything went exactly as Stella had hoped. All eyes were on her as she walked in wearing the red dress that hugged her body perfectly. The tiny crystals caught the light with every movement, making her sparkle like a star. "Stella, you look amazing," her classmate exclaimed. "Can I take a picture with you?" others asked. Boys who had never noticed her before were suddenly asking her to dance. It was everything she had ever wanted. It's getting late and we need to go back to the hostel before they lock the gates, Florence warned. But Stella was having too much fun. Just a little longer, she said as another group asked to take pictures with her. I'll catch up later. A group of seniors invited her to an after party, and despite the little voice in her head telling her to go home, she went along. Stella woke up the next morning with a pounding headache. As her eyes slowly opened, confusion set in. This wasn't her room. This wasn't even a room. She was still at the prom venue, but it was now empty, except for a few workers cleaning up. Worse still, she was wearing only her bra and pants. She sat up quickly, covering herself with her hands. Her purse, phone, the expensive red dress, and even the jewelry she had worn were all gone. Panic filled her chest as she looked around frantically. A female hotel staff walked in and was shocked when she saw Stella. What happened? Are you okay? Woman asked, quickly taking off her uniform jacket and handing it to Stella to cover herself. I don't know what happened, Stella said, tears rolling down her cheeks. Everything is gone. The kind woman gave her a simple gown to wear and enough money for transport back to the university. When she finally made it back to her hostel room, Florence was waiting. Oh, Stella, what happened to you? Through tears, Stella explained everything. Florence didn't judge her. She just listened and offered comfort. The following weeks were some of the hardest in Stella's life. She had to confess to her parents, who were understandably upset, but eventually sent her the money again. With nowhere else to turn for the validation she craved, Stella threw herself into her studies. She spent hours in the library, studying late into the night and attending every extra class available. To her surprise, at the end of the semester, she won awards and gift prizes in 5 of her courses. The recognition and attention were more than she ever expected. When her picture was installed in front of her department as the Star Student of the Year, the feeling was even better than the night of the prom. See, I told you that you are special, Florence said as they stood looking at Stella's picture on the department's notice board. You just needed to find the right thing to be special at. After that semester, Stella had found her new strategy. By the time Stella graduated, she had built an impressive resume full of academic achievements. This helped her land a good job as an accountant at Sunshine Enterprises. But even as she succeeded in her career, that feeling of not being enough, of needing more, never left her. She looked at her friends moving forward with their lives, getting married, buying cars, traveling abroad, and felt like she was standing still. Stella stood before the mirror. She had spent hours getting ready for the 5-star ladies meeting. As she walked into the hotel lobby, her heart beat fast. This was her 3rd meeting with the group. She had paid 500,000 naira for a membership, hoping it would help her meet the right people and climb the social ladder. Before the meeting started, ladies gathered in small groups, chatting and laughing. Stella spotted 2 women she wanted to connect with, Mrs. Ade and Mrs. Folari. Both were married to business tycoons. Hello, she said, trying to sound confident. I'm Stella. Oh yes, Miss Ade said, looking Stella up and down. Well, who designed your dress? Stella felt her mouth go dry. It's from... The women immediately exchanged glances and whispered to each other. Here, Mrs. Folarin said, handing Stella a small card. Call her. She's quite affordable. And she started me 2 years ago, but she doesn't seem to meet my current standards. But I believe she can help you. Stella grabbed her purse and left the hotel. Stella, are you coming over tonight? Tunde asked over the phone. I'm making your favorite jollof rice. I don't know, Tunde. I'm really tired, Stella replied. But I haven't seen you all week, babe, Tunde said. I miss you. Alright, fine. But we'll eat at your place. I don't want to go out. The truth was that Stella didn't want to be seen in public with Tunde. He was a chef at a small restaurant. A good man, hardworking, but he wasn't rich or famous. He didn't drive a fancy car or wear expensive clothes. How was work today? Tunde asked, pouring her a glass of water. Same as always, Stella said, not meeting his eyes. Tunde reached across the table and took her hand. Stella, what's wrong? You've been distant lately. Stella pulled her hand away. Tunde, nothing is wrong. I'm just tired. Stella, this is the 3rd time this month you've been late with your reports. Mr. Johnson, her department head, said sternly as he handed her a query letter. Your work quality has also dropped. What's going on? I'm sorry, sir. I've just been dealing with some personal issues, Stella said as she took the letter. You're one of our best accountants. You can do better. Back at her desk, Stella stared at the query letter. She used to love her job, but lately it all seemed pointless. Tola, her colleague and friend, came to her desk. "I saw you talking to the boss. What's up?" Stella showed her the query letter. "Stella, can't you see that you have a great future in accounting and finance? If you just put your head down and stop letting the harvest of others discourage your sowing, you will hit it big soon." "When will I hit it big?" Stella asked, rolling her eyes. "When I'm old and grey?" "Babe, don't tell me that thing, I beg." That weekend, Stella and her friend Vivian went shopping. "Did you check the price tag on that dress you're holding, Stella? I don't want to ask you for them before you go talk say they embarrass you," Vivian said as they walked to the counter. Stella shot her a disgusting look. "See, just mind your business," she finally replied. The next day was the hangout party organized by the 5-star ladies group. Stella had avoided their meetings for months after the previous embarrassment, but she still had 2 free meetings before her expensive membership expired. Plus, high-class men were coming for the meeting, which means potential connections. The party was held at a luxury hotel. As Stella walked in, she felt good. Her expensive dress was working. She was beautiful, and tonight she looked rich too. Several men approached her throughout the evening. They complimented her, offered her drinks, asked about her work. One of the kinder women in the 5-star group, Mrs. Obi, walked up to Stella as she finished discussing with a handsome man in a designer suit. "You do know that some of these men are married, right? And some of their wives are here too. So mingle carefully, baby," Mrs. Obi whispered. Stella hissed under her breath. She couldn't care less. Later, as Stella sat alone at the table sipping wine, a handsome older man approached her. He looked to be in his 50s. "Hello, beautiful. I finally found you," he said, pulling out a chair next to her. Stella smiled, instantly drawn to his confident air and obvious wealth. They talked for a while. His name was Chief Felix, and he owned several businesses across Nigeria. He was charming, attentive, and clearly rich. "You're a special lady, so I made sure that you will not be served by the waiters, but by the high-class chef himself," Chief Felix announced as dinner was about to be served. But Stella's smile vanished when the chef approached their table. It was no other but Tunde. Their eyes met, and Stella saw the hurt and confusion wash over his face. Tunde said nothing. He simply bowed slightly, placed their meals on the table, and walked away. "Now that's the chef I was talking about," Chief Felix said proudly. Stella barely heard him. Her heart was racing. "Please, sir, I'll be back. Let me use the restroom," she said, standing up quickly. Days later, she received a text message from Tunde declaring a breakup. When Vivian found out about the breakup, she was shocked. "Stella, in this our age and time, you get mind, allow man like Tunde leave you. Try, my friend know well oh." Stella ignored her and was happily typing on her phone. Weeks passed and Stella's life transformed. She now wore designer clothes, had professional manicures weekly, and her hair was done at the most expensive salon in Lagos. She drove a sleek sports car, one of the many gifts from Chief Felix, and also moved into a luxury apartment, also paid for by him. Her Instagram profile, once dormant, was now filled with pictures of her new lifestyle. She also renewed her 5-star ladies membership, upgrading to the first-tier women membership that cost 2 million. Stella heard rumors that Chief Felix had 4 wives, but she pushed these thoughts aside. He treated her well, gave her money without question, and took her places she had only dreamed of visiting. So, what if he was married? Months later, she resigned from her job. Her boss, Mr. Johnson, looked surprised. "Have you found a better position at another company?" he asked. "No," Stella said. "I'm just pursuing other opportunities." Her boss frowned. "Stella, you may not work with us anymore, but nothing should make you give up your career in finance. You're gifted for this, and there's so many opportunities in finance." "Thank you for your concern, sir," Stella said, not really caring. Vivian visited her one day at home. "Stella, I'm not your friend if I don't tell you the truth. Don't tell me you plan on being chief mistress for the rest of your life. Is that all you want to do?" "Yes, so Vivian, that's all I want to do in my life," Stella replied. "God brought the life I've always wanted right before me, and you're asking me funny questions." Vivian shook her head. "This isn't you, Stella. No, this is the new me. And I like her better," Stella said. Life continued this way for almost a year. Then one Tuesday, Stella's phone rang. It was Mrs. Obi from the 5-star ladies group. She informed her that Chief Felix was involved in a plane crash. Stella sank to the floor, tears streaming down her face. As the reality sank in, Stella realized she knew very little about Chief Felix's official life. She had never met his family, never been to his main home, never been acknowledged publicly. She was his mistress and nothing more. Later that day, scrolling numbly through social media, Stella saw a post from her old company. They were sending Tola to London as the new director of international operations. There was a picture of Tola smiling, holding a bouquet of flowers, and surrounded by cheering colleagues. That could have been me, Stella thought. But that was not all. Another post caught her eye, a news article about the launch of a new food recipe. The chef being featured was none other than Tunde. The article showed pictures of him signing books, surrounded by important people, governors, celebrities, and multi-billionaires. Stella closed the app, unable to bear it. 3 days after Chief Felix's death, while Stella was still figuring out what to do next, there was a loud knock on her apartment door. She opened it to find 3 stern-looking men and a woman in an expensive traditional attire. "I am Chief Felix's first wife. Now, you will pack your things and leave this apartment right now. It belongs to the family." But Chief Felix, will you shut up and leave here before I wreck you in pieces? Like that, Stella lost everything. The apartment, the car, the boutique, the luxury items, all gone. With nowhere else to go, she called her mother. The next day, she boarded a bus to her parents' village. As the bus pulled away from Lagos, she looked out the window at the city she had tried so hard to conquer. Her mother was waiting at the bus stop, arms open wide. Stella fell into her embrace, sobbing. She had learned the hard way that in chasing after shadows, she had lost the real things.